Okay, so welcome everybody to our employer engagement webinar and session. So I'm Rebecca Farmer. I'll get into a little bit about who I am later, but thank you so much for your participation today. And hopefully you're going to take away some really keen insights, food for thought, and something to help you consider more around this engagement piece and apprenticeships. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah and Andrea now on the introduction piece.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and welcome everybody. If you're here for the first time, welcome to this is our first webinar for you, but it's actually the second in our series of 6 webinars that we are putting on with Hawk Training. And thank you to Hawk for helping us to provide these opportunities for local apprentice employers in Oxfordshire. So I'm Sarah Marlowe. I'm the Skills Hub Deputy Manager at OxLEP. Oxfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership is OxLEP in the longer version. And our role at OxLEP is to champion Oxfordshire's economic potential. We act as a catalyst and convener to drive a sustainable and growing economy. We welcome you now to this apprenticeship webinar, couldn't think what it was, and we are being able to provide these webinars to you through our social contract programme, and that's a £1.7 million government programme funded by the Contain Outbreak Management Fund, which was procured through Oxfordshire County Council, and its aims were to address the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic initially, and more recently the cost of living crisis. In this part of the programme, we're addressing the impacts on health and well-being for individuals, communities and local businesses, and with a focus on unemployment and barriers to employment, education and training. 2 of our key indicators of successful outcomes for the whole programme will be an increase in the number of Oxfordshire apprenticeship starts and achievements. If we could move on to the next slide, please.
Of course.
Thank you. So we're looking to achieve through this social contract programme successful outcomes, which to date look like this sort of thing. So this is the Oxfordshire Apprenticeship Levy Transfer Programme. So we have at the moment achieved, well, this morning we've achieved over £2.5 million. Wow. So this slide is always out of date because our fantastic apprenticeship advisors are supporting Oxfordshire businesses with new apprenticeship starts through funding which has been gifted through larger businesses who pay the apprenticeship levy. So as you may know from recent news, that was 25% of their levy that could be pledged. It's now going up to 50%, which is even better. And you can see here some of the organisations that we are working with who pledge their levy to our small to medium enterprises, our charities and our social enterprises in Oxfordshire to be able to fund the cost and assessment for an apprenticeship. Obviously, slight changes coming through the government shortly that will be available to be funded without the 5% co-investment fee up to the age of 22, but we'll still be able to help all those individuals who are taking up apprenticeships above that age. So we have helped at the moment around 157 apprenticeships. I'm sure that has changed actually and gone up. I should think we're nearly 160 with the extra bit that's come in the pot overnight. And most of those apprenticeships have been through the health and social care sector. We've particularly supported lots of local GP practices with nurse associates, early years in education and construction. All local sectors with high levels of skills and labour gaps and government focused sectors. So we've also just won a Department for Education contract to deliver boot camps in Oxfordshire. And if you are a training provider on this webinar, please do look at our skills website, OxLEP Skills microsite, to find out more about the procurement for those boot camps coming up, hopefully later this week. If you want to find out more about all of our work, and there is a lot more in the social contract programme, look out for the QR code at the end of this presentation and our website address and also contact details. So as I say, we're delivering this set of 6 webinars for employers. Recently, the St Martin's Group, in partnership with Learning and Work Institute, published a report called Enabling Better Outcomes, a wider view of apprenticeship success, and it looked at how to create a system that supports employers to drive and enable successful apprenticeship completions. Employers want apprentices to succeed, but barriers like providing time off to study hinders completion rates. So we wanted to help you, our employers, to have a strong understanding of how to support your apprentices through to successful completions. We know that high quality apprenticeships benefit people, employers and our economy, and they're an integral part of the government's skills policy in England. But these ambitions can't be really realised unless we expand apprenticeship opportunities and raise those completion rates. So our Oxfordshire Apprenticeship Advisor for Completions, Andrea, who's on the call with us as well, delivers complementary support to businesses as part of the social contract programme to help you, our Oxfordshire businesses, to support your apprentices through to successful achievements. And we're delighted, as I say, to be working with Hawke Training to enable this series of 6 webinars. So thank you for joining us for the second webinar in the series, and we hope you'll join us for the rest. I'll hand over now to Andrea and Hawke Training.
Thank you so much. So, you're probably wondering who I am. So, so I'm Rebecca Farmer, so I'm Business Development Manager within Hawke Training. I've been with Hawke Training for over 4.5 years now. I've managed to have quite a bit of insight into apprentice delivery from all different types of angles. So started off as a tutor, then moved into a curriculum lead, so within customer service and business administration. And as I say, now I'm Business Development Manager, so making sure that our employers get the best experience from us, making sure we've got the right apprentice on the right programme at the right time. So that's a little bit about me. And yeah, I'll be hosting you through this meeting today. We want an open forum, so as much engagement as possible. It makes the workshop more beneficial for you. And so if you've any questions or just want to flag something, you can raise your hand, you can write in the chat, you can shout out loud, anything you like. I believe Mark's going to be supporting me with managing the chat as well.
I am.
So yeah, we really like this to be as open as possible. Any questions or your concerns, anything controversial is also fun. So anything that you want to ask, please feel free to do so. Okay. So let's get into it. So a lot of the time there's questions around when you have an apprentice around that mentoring piece and a management piece. Okay, so it's kind of that, what's the difference between a manager and a mentor? Can you be both? Do you want to be both? Do you have a stronger set in one area than the other? So it is important to have a manager and a mentor, and this is why. So your manager is more to do with sort of that performance piece, that managing the operational side of things. They provide detailed information. They understand their organisation. They understand the key outputs and deliverables that they need to achieve and how that's going to take place. And they deal with any sort of concerns and issues, managing conflict, anything, they sort of manage the sort of running of that team to make sure that everyone has all of the facilities and resource they need to be able to complete their job. And they're also that point of contact if there are any concerns. And these are the individuals that be completing appraisals and reviews to all of their team, but around their apprentice as well. Okay. Now, a mentor, and I'm not clicking on the right screen, apologies. So a mentor is different. It is different. This person is dedicated to that apprentice, their well-being and their development and training. So they're kind of, again, that if there's a problem or a concern with resource delivery or output, that's the manager. The mentor is there to say, do you know what, I'm really struggling with this piece of work, or I'd really like to see this, or I want to have a look at that, or can you join? It's more of that engagement with that learner individually to really understand their development needs and their requirements. They can support with development and career goals. So those open conversations about actually, where do you want to be? What do you want? Tell me where you envision yourself. You know, and those conversations can be really important. So, I mean, my own journey, so starting off as like a tutor, I never would have known where I kind of wanted to be if those conversations weren't being had and I didn't have that individual that I can speak to about those career journeys. They're an impartial ear. So again, not all journeys are straightforward. People are fluid, things change all the time, and it's really important. I mean, even in the role that I have now, and I think everyone on this call will agree with me, you want to have that person you can go to as an impartial ear. You can say, look, I'm really worried about this, or this isn't really going the way that I want, or, you know, just to have those conversations to really be able to support that apprentice or colleague. And then supporting like open doors, provide opportunities and experience. So if there is an area of an apprenticeship where, you know, for example, it could be around the coaching and mentoring piece or conflict, depending on the program they're doing, you can speak to your mentor and say, I've actually never dealt with this before. I've no idea. I've never seen it. And they'd be like, great, okay, cool. You can go here, here, here. You can observe this. You can see this. They're there to really open those doors for that apprentice to be able to progress and develop. And I'm trying not to talk too much. I'm quite passionate about this, as I hope you can tell. But I think the essential piece for this is not only for that learner. So I think it's really important to sort of consider about the outputs you're going to get as an organisation. So yes, we put the learner at the forefront of everything we do. But if you do that, if you can commit to that, and if you invest in that, you are going to see such an improvement in your own performance as an organisation, because you're going to have these well-trained, supported, engaged, and, you know, career-driven members of staff, because they know that you're behind them. So I think that's kind of the sort of key takeaway for me on that piece. Does anyone have any questions? I would see myself as more of a mentor. Are there any sort of managers out there? I'm looking at my colleagues. I think I can see a manager. Yes, Andrea.
It's not necessarily, well, it is a question, but I'm just thinking about, we support SMEs and sometimes micro businesses where you can't necessarily split the manager and the mentor. The manager, the employer, is having to do everything. But what I'm increasingly seeing is these smaller companies having more than one apprentice working with them. Where do you feel, where do you stand on the getting apprentices, other apprentices, to be sort of mentors to perhaps new apprentices coming in, and seeing the upskill of maybe existing staff?
Yeah, I think as well. So when it comes to like smaller businesses, yes, you don't have an infinite amount of resource to be able to facilitate all of these things. But I would say that, yes, I feel very strongly about having more than one apprentice, because they're both on that journey together, and they can have these conversations. They can talk about the work they're completing. You know, we do study days sometimes with some of our employers so that learners can get together and discuss about where they're at, because a peer is someone that you can have that open ear to, you can have that conversation with. Am I right? I feel more, you know, feel very confident talking to a member of my team about my concerns than potentially someone who's above me. So that can be really supportive to the apprentice journey. And sometimes you get some competition as well, which is never a bad thing. So you get sort of apprentices saying, oh, where are you at? Oh, okay, I'm behind. And they want to catch up with that and be on a level playing field. So it can be really positive for that learner experience. And then I would also say, yes, you know, you're only one person, you know, you can't really split yourself in half and things like that. However, what can be a really great opportunity for smaller businesses is that you may have a member of staff who you see real potential with, or this really sort of dedicated, you know, a professional individual, where you can say, actually, we see where you could be, we see your potential, and actually we'd really like it if you could, you know, support that apprentice. Can they work with you? Can they observe you? And then by that, you're achieving that mentoring piece, delegating to another individual and upskilling someone that's not actually on the apprenticeship, but you're going to still see those benefits as you go throughout the program. So yeah, really good point actually, because yeah, if there's any smaller businesses on here, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I can't add any more to my job, there's no room. But there are other people around you who would probably be really passionate about this as well. I mean, there's something really rewarding about mentoring an apprentice and seeing that person's individual growth. So it can be really supportive. Mark, I can see you're managing the chat as that. Yeah,
Leah's just said that loves the idea of study days and networking days and those things. We've Hawk Training has just introduced, directly from feedback from employers as well, something we called action learning sets, where anyone can join on for an hour on any apprentice, as long as they join on, they're all completing the same apprenticeship, to discuss their journey, to discuss and work around some of the issues they may have, but also to celebrate the successes, because there's nothing more motivational for apprentices to hear how other people are dealing with things and moving forward and taking the top tips away from their peers effectively as well. And they're really been, the uptake on them has been very good. Been very good. So
it's nice to know someone's in the same boat as you. That's always really nice. You know, like when you're trying to get through this apprenticeship, you want to get the most out of it. You want to be a sponge and absorb everything. To speak to someone else who's doing the same is great, because you go, oh yeah, like, are you finding this hard, or are you liking this, or off the job learning, tracking? Are you finding that challenging? And yeah, so it doesn't have to be one person. It can be a collective effort. And I think it's nice that when it's a collective effort, so it kind of has this like real personal edge to it.
Can I just add as well? Do you know, because obviously we often hear people are lacking in resource. Managers can be mentors. The clear difference is that it's very clear to the apprentice that when they're being a manager and when they're being a mentor, it is trickier because it's hard to sometimes differentiate the difference. But it's clear from the start, and you're actually, as an employer, saying, right, for this hour, I'm your mentor, not your manager. Let's talk about things. You can absolutely have just as a fulfilling relationship with an apprentice and not just be taking that full manager role. But it's trickier I would say it's trickier for managers who are going to be mentors, but you can do it. You can do it effectively and successfully.
Thanks, Mark. So, what are the benefits to embracing apprenticeships? Okay, so we're going to address the elephant in the room. Okay, there are so many benefits to embracing apprenticeships. And when I say, the reason I'm saying embracing is because that's the key word here. So you could be like, yeah, I'll put an apprentice, I'll have an apprentice, I'll put an apprentice on. Yeah, lovely. And that's kind of it. Embracing it, okay, is you will get a lot more performance from it. You will get a lot more out of it. So when we're talking about a manager and a mentor, and open it up to your team, letting them have engagement as well, being on this journey will actually give you more benefits to an organization and as a business if you do. So the reason that apprenticeships can be so so essential to a business, and I would actually say especially SMEs, especially smaller businesses, because the resources, because you don't have unlimited resource, bringing in one person on as an apprentice can make a massive difference to a smaller business as well. But as I say, what you'll get from apprenticeship is a skilled workforce, okay? And the reason that I personally, I think a lot of people in this call, passionate about apprenticeships specifically is because it's about knowledge, skills and behaviours. So if you was to do a training course, so if you was to do sort of like assignment-based learning and things like that, you're getting knowledge, okay? So you're understanding things. The reason that apprenticeships are so sort of changing is because they actually get the behaviours and the skills as well. So you see it straight away. So you will start to see it. You will start to see them delivering on what they're learning rather than them just learning it, if that makes sense to everybody. You're really seeing them showcasing what they're getting from their apprenticeship, and you get to see the benefits of it as well. It is cost effective. If you're a levy paying organisation, then you're paying into that levy. Use it. Is sitting there. It's there. It's the, you could look at it as I say, like it's your training fund. It is for you to increase on your KPIs, on your outputs, on your deliverables, on everything. So cost effective. If you are an SME or if you're not a levy paying provider, it's also very, very reduced cost training. Okay, it's a very, very small part. You don't pay for the whole thing. You pay for a very small percentage of that apprenticeship. Okay, so it's very cost effective. You will get lots of different ideas and innovation from these apprentices on, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, on most of our, I'll say like about 90, I think it's only one, they all have to complete some sort of project development or improvement. Actually, on all of our programs, I'm having a little think in my library in my head. They all have to bring new ideas and innovation to their business because of their apprenticeship. So even with level 2 customer service, they have to create a feedback resource to be able to engage with customers and understand them, see what they need, see what they want, and embed a change. You will get people thinking outside of the box in areas that you haven't seen. When you've been in a business a long time, sometimes you can't see outside of yourselves because you work in the same way, you work how you have forever. If you bring in a new apprentice and they're finding out all these new resources and platforms, they can say, actually, that would be really great for us. We could try this. You know, if they're doing their project work, they actually have to come to you and say, this is my project, this is my idea, what do you think? You know, can we embed this? So you're going to get fresh ideas and innovation from a new member of staff, especially when they're being trained behind the scenes as well, because they're having to do it to fulfill their apprenticeship requirements. You will have a higher company reputation. People like companies that invest in their people. Fact. We look now, we're more interested in a company's values, about their social values. What's their impact? What are they doing for their local community? What are they doing for the environment around them? And to be able to say that you provide apprenticeships to individuals is attractive. It is attractive because you think, actually, you're really investing in people. You want people to be skilled and learn. You're not doing a role and sort of thinking, oh, it's going to be, you know, you have to have 5 years experience and you need to be an astronaut. This is, we want to develop people inside. We want to have homegrown flowers, and external people enjoy that too. You get a local workforce. You know, you're reaching out to your own people. They're in your area, they're there. You get to encourage and develop people in your local area to really be able to showcase who you are as an organisation and that development piece. I feel like my passion might be taking over. Apologies, I'll try and keep it. But I really, honestly, you will see such improvements if you embrace apprenticeships, and you're also supporting the local economy as well, because you are helping these people get into the world of work. You're giving them that opportunity that might not necessarily be open to them other than an apprenticeship, you know, and you're being able to really see skills and really, if you're having that person from the beginning and they're really being able to show who they are and what they can do, imagine kind of what that future could look like for them and yourselves. Okay, so if you can embrace it, I would recommend it. It won't let you down. Does anyone have any questions or feedback on this particular side? Is anyone nervous about having apprenticeships? You know, have you got any concerns that we could potentially talk about? Yes, Sarah. Or you're muted.
Somebody had to do it first. I just wanted to ask you, Rebecca, because I hear a lot that people or organisations who take on apprentices tend to have much more loyal employees. Do you see that yourselves as a trainer?
Yes, yeah, I do. I'm not so because I'm not training anymore. I only have my previous experience to go on, apart from anything really current and up to date at the moment. But I do see it even from my account calls. So when the learners achieve, there are discussions, just again to speak about this. So when it comes to career journeys and next steps, it's actually embedded into the apprenticeship. So those conversations naturally take place. So you'll be able to see as an employer where your apprentice wants to go. So you as a manager who is an employer can think, actually, this person wants this. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's look at that. How can we make that happen? I worked a lot with the NHS when I was a tutor. And what was it, four and a half years ago? Some of my learners are absolutely still there and go from strength to strength. And I'll get like little updates from them sort of saying where they are. They're earning more money than me. And and it's lovely to see. It's really nice to see that loyalty. It's really nice to see that progression, because what you'll find with an apprentice is, because of the nature of it, because they're having, for lack of a better word, had to prove themselves. They're an apprentice. I need to show you that I want to be here. I need to show you that I want to develop. It's not like I've got the job necessarily. So if they're on an apprentice contract, once that contract's finished, who knows? So you have to be able to showcase that you want to stay, that you want to be here, that you're open to these conversations. So yes, naturally it does increase loyalty if those opportunities are available from that employer. But if you're an employer sitting here thinking, well, I could have an apprentice, but there isn't necessarily somewhere for them to go afterwards, you're still investing in that individual. You are still giving them the confidence to be able to develop themselves, to be able to go, and even if they go somewhere else, you're really giving that person a future whilst improving your own performance as well. So yeah, I do think it increases loyalty, and that apprentice will always remember your organisation too.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Anything else? I don't think there was anything in the chat, was there, Mark?
No.
Okay, so when we're talking about supporting the apprentice, we want to talk about what does that look like when it comes to like mandatory terms. So you have to have a progress review of your apprentice every 12 weeks. I don't really like the sort of mandatory thing. You're going to want this. Okay, so every 12 weeks, you will be able to liaise with the tutor and your apprentice and talk about progress. So obviously we say every 12 weeks, it kind of feels like, again, a commitment, but actually that's your opportunity there to be able to see where your apprentice is at. Where's the progress? What's going on? How can I support? Outside of that as well, you get to say, right, I set this target. This is where we wanted it to be. This is what I wanted to see. Let's talk about results. So it's really for you to have really keen insight into that apprentice, what's going on behind the scenes, and also discussing expectations with the tutor. So you'll be able to support that apprentice moving forwards. When we're looking at mentoring, it's essential that you have those conversations with the tutor and the apprentice to be able to understand what's happening so you can support them better or celebrate success or stretch and challenge as well. So if everything's going fabulously and that apprentice is doing really well, is there something else you can give them? Can you push them? Can you stretch them a little bit more? Can you and these are the conversations you can have with the tutor and the apprentice. So they are mandatory, but they are incredibly useful as an employer. So although the that's a bit of animation there, I wasn't sure if that was going to work. So although the progress reviews are mandatory, it is about that offering support. So I don't want to be specific about apprenticeships, but if you have an apprenticeship and there's like a coaching element coming up and that individual hasn't been able to coach, you get to speak to that tutor and find out what's coming up, what's happening, and being able to support that apprentice. Say, okay, that's going to be in a couple of months, so let's make sure you observe this. And as I say, offering feedback, like I've discussed, talking about how you feel the apprenticeship is going as the line manager, and that's really useful to the tutor as well from both sides. So it could be they're progressing really, really well. They're fulfilling all of their requirements for their apprenticeship. They're completing great work. But actually, the line manager joins and says, well, they've been late 5 times this week. Okay. Or we've got concerns about X, Y, Z. Great. The tutor can find out about that. And then we can do a little bit of support and training and discuss that with them at a later date and say, look, how are we going to turn this around? Everything's perfect. You're doing so well. You're letting yourself down in these areas. I've had lots of conversations regarding sickness and lateness and things like that. It can change. They can turn it around like that. We just need to be aware of it so we can support them and be interested in that apprentice. Like I said before, when you embrace the change, you see more, you get more for yourselves if you embrace that apprenticeship. So be interested, find out what's happening, know what's going on, be aware, and even if we go back to the manager description, to be an effective manager, you have to know what's going on in your team. So it's this opportunity for you to sort of gain more insight. And also, is it working? Can we take on more? Is it going so well that you want more apprentices? All of these things are really essential when it comes to those progress reviews and engaging and supporting that apprentice. Does anyone have any concerns around the 12 weekly progress reviews, or have you got an apprentice and any questions around progress reviews? Anybody? No, I think the chat's been quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet at the moment.
Hopefully, because this is really, 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 really inspiring you. Okay, so let's talk about effective apprenticeship managers. Okay, so obviously we want someone who manage and coach them. As we've discussed before, it doesn't have to be that manager, but there needs to be someone. It can't be someone who isn't relevant to that apprentice. So someone who's got that experience to be able to support that individual. And as I say, use this as an opportunity to develop other members in your team for free. To really support and mentor that person, allow that coaching to take place, being open to obviously the 4 to 6 weekly visits with their tutor, making sure they're beneficial, they've got that time to have that training sessions with their tutor. Clear goals and expectations. This is really important as well. So when your apprentice is an apprentice, they ask for a lot of manager feedback. They ask for a lot of manager insight. They want to know what your vision is. Why did you bring this apprentice on? What is it that you want them to be able to do? Where is the future for this apprentice? Where do you want them to be at the end? If you set these clear goals and expectations, it means that they've got something to work towards. They've got their North Star, you know, they know where they're going, they know their output, they know the expectation. And the tutor can also work alongside that to try and encourage that from the apprentice as they go through their programme. And clear goals and expectations, that's feedback throughout. You know, how are they progressing? How was their work? How are you seeing it? Are you being able to see them showcase the knowledge that they've created? Are they turning that into skills and behaviours? Now, providing opportunities for learning and development. So off-the-job learning is a requirement of the apprenticeship, and I would say it's an essential one. So that off-the-job learning is for that apprentice to be able to learn first and foremost with their tutor and their coach, to be able to learn and understand their job and their requirements and what that looks like, but then also that opportunity to show those knowledge, skills and behaviours as well. So it's, you know, it's great to learn about coaching methods, but I need to do it, I need to see it, I need to observe it, and then I need to do it myself, so it's actually something that I have forever. So being open to that, providing those opportunities, you know, having discussions with different departments, you know, can I send my apprentice over to you for a week so they can observe what you do? There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually really supportive to that apprentice and potentially that other team as well. So making sure that minimum of 6 hours is provided, is delivered, and also what we like to call protected study time, which is where you're allocating that time for that apprentice to complete their work for their apprenticeship as well. So it's, you know, don't let them get distracted. This is your time. I'm dedicating this to you for this period of time every week to get that work done, and then we can get on with business as usual. Okay, and that's the thing, you want it to be right. This is your time, this is what you've got, but now this is where my expectations come into play, and this is where I need to see that coming through. And regularly review, which we've already spoken about when it comes to progress reviews, but also that engagement with the learner as well. Any questions on this one? I don't think we have. I think we actually lost someone,
No.
hopefully for no bad reason.
I haven't got any questions, Rebecca, but
yeah.
I know we often hear from businesses who have perhaps experiencing some challenges around this time,
yes.
You know, time to actually allocate to the apprentice. Have you got any tips, any sort of things that you've learned along the way that can help businesses to find that time?
Well, I've got some curriculum leads on the call, but I would say, so yes, off-the-job learning is 6 hours a week. Okay, so that's a scary amount of time for anybody. Okay, I've been a manager before, and if someone said 6 hours a week, I'd go, ooh. Is being clever with it, is being smart with it. The way I look at it is, with that protected study time for them to complete their work for their tutor, to be able to submit that evidence to the tutor so they are up to date, that will ensure that that apprentice is motivated. Okay, they know they're progressing, they know it's happening. It doesn't have to be endless amounts of time. So you can say, look, you've got 3 hours to be by a laptop a week to sit and do that work. Okay, but then the other 3 hours is thinking about what that learner's doing, thinking about what that learner's learned, and giving them the opportunity to practice, giving them time to observe, give them time to and really embrace what they've learned. It works long term. Okay, so if you invest that time, if we think about when I was saying about if you embrace apprenticeships, you will see someone who is dedicated to your company, loyal to your company, wants to succeed, feels supported. You long term will get more than that 6 hours. So that 6 hours will come back as an investment. You will see the 6 hours will prove its worth as they go along their apprenticeship. The other reason I think it's so important to sort of agree it right from the beginning so everyone knows where they are with it is that the learner won't slip, because otherwise they're chasing their tail, which means that they're demotivated. They don't feel like they're progressing. Oh, they're never going to achieve it, which means that they're not going to be performing when they're in the workplace either. Okay, they're going to get chased by their tutor. They're going to have progress reviews where you're behind target. If you just nip it in the bud, agree it and stick to it, you will have someone who is dedicated to your organisation and will deliver on what you need them to. And I think that's really the best way that I would say deal with it. I don't know if anyone's got anything they want to add.
I would add to that as well. It's all about planning from the very beginning. Absolutely planning how you're going to understand what the apprentice needs and also what the business needs. Some tips that I've seen, I've been in an organisation where the manager sent them a repeating diary invite for a certain 2 periods in a week. I think it was 2-3 hour slots, and that was their time. That also motivates the apprentice to say they're invested in me. I've got this time, I can use this. They're interested, and they're making sure that I'm supported. Also, if they're working in a team, letting the other team members know for that period of time that they're unavailable except for emergencies or whatever it is, so that they also feel that they've been invested in. And the apprentices who have that have a much more fulfilling apprenticeship experience. A lot of studies that we've conducted our own investigation in it and spoke to apprentices who have left early and didn't complete the apprenticeship. Without fail, I would say 80% of them all said because they didn't get that protected study time. They didn't feel invested or supported. That was one of the outstanding things you hear. So it is about planning. And as Rebecca was saying, it's about thinking that time is an investment. But also, if you're the manager in that department or that area, thinking about how you're going to manage without that apprentice for that time period and having a plan.
I think
that's
as well,
the tip that I would say.
Just I know, Steve. Sorry, Steve. Go on, you go.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say. So again, something I kind of want to mention, because we're talking about it from the point of view of apprentices being apprentices and starting as an apprentice, okay? But you'll also have people on apprenticeships who are already enrolled, okay? So they're already in the job, okay? They're already doing it, but they're still an apprentice. That one could be more challenging, and you'll find that we have more challenges with that than we do with someone who's hired as an apprentice for an apprentice role. How I would challenge that is around, why were they on the apprenticeship? Why are they having the training? Okay, so there's obviously skills they want to develop. They want to be better in their role. That 6 hours a week is that investment to show them that they can do it and that they have that time to develop. Because otherwise, if they don't, they can't make those changes. They can't develop themselves. They can't understand anything new. They don't get the opportunity to become more experienced, to become more confident. So it's sometimes, because I know it can be hard, and it can be hard to sort of give that time, but think about, why are they on this apprenticeship? Why are you, the employer, putting them on an apprenticeship? You know, because you want better deliverables, you want better KPIs, you want a better performance. Do invest that time, because you will get it then. If you don't invest it, it can't happen. So it's just that, really thinking about your end goal for why you're putting the apprentice on is worth it. And that's when you're going to get the whole reason you started apprenticeship delivery is from that 6 hours a week.
So B, I just wanted to say, so I'm the curriculum lead for management leadership at Hawk Training. One of the things that we do with our level 3 and our level 5, level 3 team leader, level 5 operations departmental manager apprentices, is that we look at this off-the-job learning from a perspective of succession planning. And so we look at, okay, if you're not going to be doing your job for 3 hours a week, then who in your department, in your team, could do your job for 3 hours a week? And so it's about maybe using somebody to fill that hole that develops them and gives you, the apprentice, the time to work on your apprenticeship, and then that kind of grows them and develops them, and so they get benefits from that, and then you as the manager get benefits from that as well.
Thanks, Steve. Good point.
Andrew might have a question.
Yeah, no, all I was going to add to, and I know obviously this is the second webinar in the series, but I think it goes back to the recruitment of apprentices as well, and knowing fully what is expected from both the employer and the apprentice, and the off the job. I think, you know, we've all been there that have worked in training providers. We've all been there in terms of, well, we just, you know, we can't commit to that sort of time when it used to be 20%. So I think it's knowing from the very beginning what people are signing up for, and it is something that cannot be bypassed, because, like you say, it's for the fulfillment of the apprenticeship, but also getting the best from that learner. And I've seen it when people haven't been given that time, the motivation just absolutely just goes through the floor. and then employers
Yeah.
can get frustrated, the apprentice is frustrated, and it doesn't come to fruition. What I would say from what I've seen so far working with OxLEP and my employers is that everyone is really geared towards getting the best from the apprentice, and there hasn't been an instance where I've had a meeting where the employer has said we just can't afford the time, which I think is really positive. I know when it used to be 20%,
Maybe different.
there were more there were more constrictions there, but I think with the change to the 6 hours, it's really helping. And also knowing what off the job, because let's face it, I think the wording off the job has always confused people as to what constitutes off the job training.
Yeah,
because off the job is really on the job, but it's not.
I know we had that conversation a lot. Yes, and it's about that transparency. So the employer knowing exactly what they're signing their apprentice up for. They know the expectation. They know what they're going to get from it, and it's that agreement from all parties. And as I say, if you speak to an employer who gave the off the job, they'll be like, yeah, apprenticeships are great. This person's phenomenal. They still work for me now. The people who didn't, they go, oh, well, I didn't really see the point, and I understand it. If they're not getting the opportunity to learn, if they're not getting the opportunity to actually fulfill the requirements of their job, then yeah, you're not going to see the benefits. So it's invest now for your homegrown flowers later.
I mean, just on that point, B, sorry to interrupt again.
Right.
Just on that point. So again, just focusing on management and leadership apprenticeships. So there is, so CMI did some research, Chartered Management Institute did some research recently about the benefits of apprenticeships. And they reported that there is a 32% average increase in productivity and engagement from people completing an apprenticeship in management and leadership. I'm pretty sure the stats will be fairly similar for other apprenticeships, but management and leadership is my thing. 81% of apprentices said that they felt more skilled in management and leadership as a result of doing their apprenticeship. Increases in staff loyalty and retention. And yeah, I think Mark and I were going to do a session later on, aren't we, about projects and apprenticeships, but 84% of learners said, 84% of employers said that the projects that their apprentices did on programme gave them a real positive return on investment. So very much what you were saying, B, it's about let's invest now to get productivity, loyalty, retention, efficiency, more money, better KPIs in the future. Yeah.
Who wouldn't want 30%, 32% increase?
And I've just put a couple of slides into the chat, which just describes off the job as well, because you can possibly tell we get asked this a lot. So anything that can help clarify, absolutely.
So this is the questions and challenge piece. I appreciate, Leah. This is a lot of pressure on you. But do you have a key takeaway from the session today? Anything that you found impactful, or something that you might look into a bit further?
Oh, I just love the idea about the kind of study days for apprentices, and I had this conversation with someone this morning, a large employer, who was wondering how she could get her apprentices that are on different apprenticeships to kind of interact and engage together, and I think that would be a perfect example. So yeah, definitely going to feed that back to employers I'm working with.
Oh, fabulous. No, they do work, and as I say, if you can facilitate it, and the organisation can facilitate it, it really can make a difference. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes as well. So yeah, I'm glad you're taking something away and it's been beneficial for you today. I appreciate we're coming to the end of the session as well. I just want to say thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, four more presentations to go. So yes.
Last slide, B.
Oh yeah, the scan. Apologies, everyone. The scanner.
Not a problem at all.
So yeah, so this is all of the details that you might need moving forward. As they do use the QR code, do scan me. it would take to all the resources that you might need and some more information as well. But yeah, I've really enjoyed today's session actually. So yeah, hopefully, especially with the recording as well, if this gets shared out, I hope it's been useful and impactful, and good luck in apprenticeship journeys moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for today, Rebecca.
Pleasure.
It's been a really good a good session, and I think again the way that the webinars have been set up, with the next one being the apprentice engagement, it has just a natural flow to the actual apprenticeship journey, because yes, whilst the employer needs to be engaged, we equally, if not more, want the apprentice to be engaged, and some of the challenges that the apprentice can face. And I know you've touched on some today, and I think it's great having that mentor in place where you can, and also the tutor support where the employer might not be in a situation to be able to perhaps offer that guidance straight away to the apprentice, especially if they've not had an apprentice before. But being able to fall back on the tutor for advice and guidance, I think is really good, and I believe that'll be explored more fully in the next webinar in April. So thank you so much for today, and obviously these slides and recording will be sent out later, but thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure. Have a great rest of the day, and yeah, speak very soon.
Thank you.
On the 17th of
Thank you
April,
all.
everyone.
Take care.
See you in
Bye-bye.
April.
Bye.
Bye.